Hello, beautiful people. This is your girl, Dawn Patrice, with your weekly Dose of Dawn podcast. Of course, y'all already know I'm always excited, and I'm always excited to speak to beautiful people that are just in their pursuit of always becoming, because I know that every stage of our lives, it's just we're constantly evolving and becoming the best versions of ourselves. So I'm happy to have my special guest coming on today to just talk to us and have a conversation about who she is, how she has mastering her piece, and how that journey has started. So I have Michelle coming in. So anyway, I'll get to talking. So let me bring her in and we'll get this thing started. Go lay down. Song that has been on YouTube, like it's a real song. So if I start randomly saying something, that's why. Hello.
Hey, girl.
What?
What's up?
Nothing much. Welcome and thank you for taking the time and speaking with me today. So tell us who you are, introduce yourself, and we're just gonna vibe on out.
Okay, well, my name is Michelle. Dawn and I have been friends for a very long time. And so she's seen me over the years, and I think that this was something that happened for the both of us kind of simultaneously. And so I began a journey of writing a blog. I have a blog. It's masteringpeacewithme.com. And basically this blog is just my point of view about life and the things that I'm going through, but on a grander scale, culturally, just trying to see where I fit in and how I as a person play a part in society, and then what that means for my life. And so mapping that out has been kind of yucky, but it is the experience. So I just went full throttle into it.
What was the pivotal turning point in your life for you to realize, okay, let me start mastering my piece? Like, when did that start?
Okay,
I was at my moment, like, okay, what? Okay, God, is this you guys? Or is this me? Like, what was that moment?
So I think for me, it started with my job situations and just getting to a point where it was like, it's not working for me, because I started to feel this rebellion, like, against my jobs. And it was just kind of like, but this is structure, baby. Like, you got to go to work to feed your family. You know what I'm saying?
Wait a minute.
So it was just kind of like, well, what is this that I'm feeling though? Because it was a burnout. Like, I was feeling a burnout, and then a strong rebellion. So I had to tell myself, like, okay, you need to pump the brakes and go try to figure out what this really is that is bothering you. And it just turned out that I had gotten bit by like the entrepreneurship bug a little bit, and decided that the rebellion is coming from because you're really not a follower, my dear. Like, you're just not. You got that leader. Yeah. So it was that, and then having to tell myself, okay, so you need to figure out purpose, like Michelle's God-given purpose.
Why she's here.
Yes, and in the grand scheme of things, like how that's gonna play out, and it culminated in the blog.
Wow, I love that. When I see you and when I saw you were starting your blog, like you mentioned, we've known each other, been friends over 10 years now. Yeah, over 10 years now. And if you heard the introduction, I spoke of becoming, because I always say that we're constantly becoming, I believe, the best versions of ourselves. Yeah. It's going to be a continuous journey until the good Lord say it's a wrap, you know. And I can say I've seen the beauty in your journey of you evolving. I can think of, and your memory might be a little bit better than mine, but I just remember a time where I saw so much in you, even though I'm saying it's like I'm a whole old head.
But you know me though.
Right, but I remember seeing so much in you, and whatever I said to you, you bring it up recently. but I was glad that I saw it then, and to see it now, I'm like, this is, of course, like finally, here she is, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I love to see that. Go ahead. It was the tip of your tongue. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, because I remember that moment very vividly, us being in my old apartment, sitting on the bed, we just rapping, capping about something. And
Okay.
you were like, you got this tone when you're passionate about something. Like when you really, you know, when it's almost like when you catch your tempo, the beat drop, you know what I'm saying? And then you get into this whole spiel. And I think that that's always been in me because like my whole purpose is to try to be as authentic as I can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I can't do that without being true. Like I can't do that without being real. And so I think that that's just always been something that's almost innate. Some people got it, some people don't.
Right.
And
Do you think it's because of how you were raised, or like you said, it's just innate? Shoot, I was bred this way. Sorry.
well, I think it's a combination of both because I mean, again, you know me, but for the people,
I don't know you now.
Okay, so we all, well, for the people, my upbringing is paramount to being who I am. Like, just a well-rounded person can honestly say, you know, I grew up in a blessed household to where I have my biological parents. I didn't grow up with a stepmom, stepdaddy. They're both my parents. They're grounded in Christianity. My father is the epitome of superhero. We just gonna be 100 about that, okay? My mother's heart is a heart of gold. Like she's just a very loving person. And I think I got the 50-50 of them 100% fused into the person that is Michelle. And then like my dad is just rooted in integrity. He's a man of integrity. He's noble. His character is just unmatched. I don't see many men like it. So the example was there. And
so real quickly, because I don't want to miss this. So with you seeing that superhero in your life, how was that reflected in your dating life? Like, was it a hard shoe to feel in dating? Because I hear a lot of women say, like, you know, well, my daddy, he dated, he did this and he did that. So if a man is not bringing that, it's like, I can't, you know, the expectation is very, very high. So how did that show up in your life with you dating?
well, I'm a rebel, so I do what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna do what I want to do. And though I really admire those traits about my father, like I don't expect nobody to be my dad. You know what I'm saying? And so, but I have standards and they top tier. Yes. You know, so I expect a man to be a man. And I even expect it if we get to a certain place in dating and you meet my father, that you understand like the examples right there. So I don't have to, do I have to say too much of anything else? Like, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah. I was just curious, like when you date, was it something that these are the main characteristics that I wanted not to, you know, whoever you date is not your dad. Being very clear about that, but just those characteristics. Because I can say for myself, my experience, if my daddy side of the family listening, this is my story and this is my truth. But I didn't want, no, for real, because, you know, it's all about transparency. And I think that it's important when people are transparent and authentic, as you mentioned, to tell their stories. Other people are able to open up and be healed. But for me, I knew, I was like, oh, I don't want anybody like my daddy, you know, in some regards. But because of the characteristics. So it's like those core characteristics of the people that kind of shape us a little bit. Like, okay, yeah, I like that. No, I don't want that.
yeah,
I don't want that at all.
yeah. I think in a sense you look for those things, right? Like because it's what you know, and you kind of you want to be familiar with something and with someone. But I think that my love life has been very sacred. So it's been a place where I've grown the most.
Yeah, I like that. I don't think people saying their love life is, sacred the way you just said it. Now that spoke volumes in itself. Did that have a part to do with your just evolvement and becoming, more master, girl, I can't say it. Masterful. Take your time on, take your time. So, and cultivating who you are. Because I know it's like so many parts, not just your employment, getting the entrepreneur bug, but did they have a part in you becoming who you are now?
Yeah, I think that's definitely played the biggest part outside of my family.
Mm.
This situation was something that I could not have dreamed of, but it's something that I'm glad that the experience itself speaks volumes. Again, for me to even say the word sacred, like that's just, it altered my life and it elevated my person. And so that's where I realized how empathetic I really was in my last relationship, like being able
Oh,
to.
okay. Because I guess, look, I'm trying to act like I don't know you, but I'm like, you're so empathetic. You're so, like, you feel everything. You see everything. But,
Yeah.
okay. I love that. I love that. Ooh, I love
Um, and I think that it played a huge part because that person in particular has had a lot of things happen that, again, me being empathetic, I
it.
took it all in. And it was just kind of like, okay, this is going to transform you in a way that I don't think that I was ready for, but I embraced. And so you brace yourself and then you embrace it. That kind of thing. That's what I did.
Okay, how does one embrace like new territories for people that are extremely scared? Like, what would you say to a person that they're like, okay, I know I gotta do this, but I don't know how to embrace this. Like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind that you would tell somebody?
I'll have a little faith and,
Mm,
and grant yourself a whole lot of grace.
I
Because,
love that. Now that's just life. That's a
yeah,
whole lesson in itself.
yeah. And that's really, like, to me, that's what I had to see it is that's really what we talk about. Like, the experience is life.
Yes.
And I had to have a whole lot of faith to jump out there and say, like, okay, so you're gonna start writing about stuff. You're gonna get a little personal because I'm listening. My personal is my personal. I don't too much put my business out the boat. So to honestly say that you're gonna step into that atmosphere, like you gotta have a whole lot of faith. You gotta believe in what it is that you're trying to do, what you're gonna figure out to do. And then just grant that grace because it ain't gonna be perfect. You're gonna mess up. It's gonna have valleys and mountains, but as long as you commit to it, you gotta commit to it.
Yeah. Did you hear God? Because I know I've experienced like a transformational moment in my life where my faith was ignited on a completely different level. But what was it like? What was it like when you heard the Spirit of God? Just like, okay, no, this is what you need to do. Did you question like, hold up, wait a minute? Are you just like, okay, salute, I got you. This is what I gotta do.
Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't a question, but it was more of a, for me, how am I gonna do this? Because I felt like where I currently was chaotic, like it was chaos. But when I hear God, because of the relationship that I had, I filter everything through that. It's a channel, like I filter everything through it. So it was more so, do you feel that this is your purpose? And
Mm,
I knew that instantly. And so it was just like, okay, so figure out how to get this out, because that is ultimately what you're doing with purpose. Figure out how to get it out. And so I was terrified, super terrified, because
why were you so terrified? I know you're private and being vulnerable, but I mean, before it was Mastering Peace, it was Sassy Shelly. So, like,
so you see, like you see how it was like you gotta bring Michelle back, tone Michelle down, like Sassy Shelly, because I am a spitfire. I am, when I'm passionate, it's guns a blazing. When I'm, you know what I'm saying? And you know me, like even when the
yeah,
mask off, mask off. Like
right.
I can be a Christian I can be very Christian, but I'm gonna get right with you. Like, and ain't no separating the two.
With truth and clarity. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Raw and unfiltered with it. Absolutely.
100%. And that's just two, because I want you to understand I'm trying to be as authentic as I can be. So
yeah,
it was definitely, but it is one of those things where this isn't something that is purely you, solely you. This is God given, you know what I'm saying? So if you're being guided by the principles in a worldview, like, you gotta abide, it's obedience too. And so that was something that I knew you got to have some type of devotional time, because it's been chaotic. You got to get it back to a place where you're able to channel it correctly.
Yeah. When you have your devotional time, is that when you start writing your blog, or like, is it maybe you're reading your devotion or spending time with the Most High and then you start blogging, or is it something just you study on the word? Like, how do you cultivate your blogs from your devotional?
I'm such a sponge.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the day, I have sticky notes just sitting in my pocket, and I have to jot stuff down because thoughts come so quickly. Experiences happen. I live in the moment. Things happen in a moment. And I'm like, oh crap, I got to write this down because this is something I want to speak about. I want to refer back to this. And so I have like little sticky notes all over the place, in my car, in my room, in the bathroom. Like,
I love it.
Yeah, because my thoughts go so quickly. I'm like, you're going to forget that if you don't jot it down quickly. And then depending on what theme or topic or anything I'm going to focus on, I bring together all the thoughts that relate to that. And then I'm like, okay, map out what it is that you're trying to say. What do you want to get across?
Yeah. Does it take you a while to map it out? Because it's like I'm kind of talking to a mirror, because with the whole sticky notes, like, those sticky notes are real.
Yeah. I don't know how I did it without them, but
yeah. Go ahead.
I guess, like I said on the website, this is a moving process. Like, I'm trying to grasp what it is where I'm aiming to go for real, and do this at the same time, because I knew that if I didn't do it when it was on my heart, I wasn't gonna do it.
That part, and that is important, and I hope that didn't go over anyone's head, because that's really the Spirit of God speaking through you. And even for those that are listening, when there's things that are pressed on your spirit to do, you should act on it, because you don't know when that feeling is going to come back around.
Right.
If you are in phases and moments in your life where you may feel stagnant or you may feel unsure, but when it's heavy on you, you must act. You must act. And know, and I get that, a lot of times we question things, but it's something about a stronghold on your heart where okay, why do I keep on thinking about this? Why do I keep on writing the same things over and over again? Why do I keep on seeing certain things? Because you need to move.
Yeah.
You need to act on those things. So I love that you said that, because it's important that we truly act on our purpose. And sometimes we may not understand, like, what does this have to do with anything? Because some people may not even know their purpose. Right. But if certain things are heavy on your heart, it might be the road to your purpose.
Yes. And for me, it reached a point where my faith became a conviction for me.
How so? Break that down.
Because I think a lot of times when you say you believe something, right? Like, so how do that show up in your life?
Ooh.
Right? Like, are you being 100 about that? Do you really believe that? Because your actions don't show what you believe.
Yeah.
And it was a conviction, because I'm like, that's not what you living like. And you know that. And
that's solid. That's solid. That's solid. Like, that's your higher being. Like, your consciousness is up here. Like, okay, no, I can't say I believe this and then I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even have that now, unfortunately, because they do whatever.
So that's how my faith entered my consciousness as a conviction, because it was like, why are you feeling like that? And then Ephesians 4 popped in my head, like, you spiritually dead.
What does Ephesians 4 say? It speaks about just being spiritual. Do you remember it all?
No.
Because you said it like you knew. Okay, girl,
Yeah.
you said. I'm like, it's all right. We can Google. Go ahead.
Right, because my memory is like I'm photogenic. I take snapshots of what it is, but it speaks
That's you are.
right. It speaks about being spiritually dead, people being spiritually dead, but faith entering your consciousness as a conviction, that was to wake you up. Like it was like a poke in a prod to say, so why you feeling like that? But if you say that you believe a certain something, then you act on it, and you gotta embody that, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
because like I'm just trying to, I can't live no lie. That ain't gonna work for me. It don't correspond with reality, so it's not going to work for me.
Yeah.
And so it was really a God guiding thing where he was like, okay, so come back to me.
Ooh.
And it was a back to the basics type of feeling. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember as a child going to church, being saved, and what that felt like as an 11-year-old girl. It took me back to that moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your childlike self. Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, because you gotta start over. He's making you new, a rebirth.
Yeah. And like you do that in life. You go through those moments where, because it felt like I had walked away for a long time, and it just didn't feel right. Something did, like my spirit was off. Something was not working. But I knew there was a knowledge that I had that
from
helped,
childhood, from
yes, that helped you get back on a track where you feel like you're aligned. And then that's when I started reintroducing myself to devotionals, getting back into reading the Bible, getting back into a deep prayer time, meditating. Because I started experiencing anxiety really bad too, like bad.
Really?
Yes. And I was
talk about that.
It's wild, because I've never been a anxious person like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm gonna make a decision and we going with it. Like it just is what it is. But it got to a point where I was just anxious about a lot of stuff, and I think that it was just the spirit really speaking to me, like the time is now. Is basically what it was. The time is now. You can't control the things that you just control your controllables. You can't control your uncontrollables.
That control your controllables, which is you. Everything else around you, you have no control over that. But you,
yeah,
how you move, how you operate, how you receive,
yep,
all that. That's how you can control.
Yeah.
I love that. So you had just mentioned something. Ooh, don't lose it, don't lose it, don't lose it. What would you say to a person that wasn't raised in the church or had that foundation of spirituality? What would you say to them if they wanted to have that relationship with Christ? Like, how do they start that? Like, what does that look like? Because the world says, okay, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. But also the world is saying to us now, okay, God is within. So how do you navigate that spirituality when you've never had one to cultivate in the first place?
I definitely think first you got to find people, right? Because
yes, okay.
You got to find people, but more than anything, you got to find people that you trust. To me, I don't know about nobody else, but to me, the way that I view the world through Christianity is a truth filter. That's what it is. If it's not true, then I'm living a lie. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that isn't true, then my faith is in vain. The prayers are in vain. Like, it's all in vain if it's not true. And so
it's my living in vain. What is it? The Clark sisters back in the day.
Yes, God, yes.
Well, I hope y'all ain't see that, but it's all right. My teeth and my mouth.
My mama always used to play the Clark sisters, but I definitely, I think you have to ask yourself, like, what do you truly believe? Like, as far as truth goes, what does that mean? And for me, again, if I'm talking reality, it's got to correspond and it's got to be coherent.
Yeah.
That's the only way it's going to make sense. If it corresponds with my reality and if it's coherent to where when I put it all together, it maps onto reality perfectly.
Gotta be true to yourself.
Yes.
When you're true to yourself, your spiritual awareness is ignited. I love that. I love that. And that's where, and now that is a whole word, because I'm sure during the pandemic, people were so anxious to be outside because a lot of people haven't really spent time with themselves.
Right. Right.
That's a scary part, when you thinking everything is one way, but when you really speak with yourself, and like, self-reflection is truly healing. But you gotta be open to that.
You do, and you gotta be self-aware. Like, you gotta be able to call you on your crap, and you gotta be able to not just be accountable, but be responsible enough to say, I'm lacking here or I'm weak here. And
humility. I hear humility when you say that.
That's it. That's it.
I hear a lot of that, and I think a lot of times, especially, again, I've heard a lot during this pandemic, which I'm sure we all have, but that ego, we a lot of us got big old egos.
Yes.
But when you are strict, when you can't do this and you can't do that, who are you?
Yes.
When the titles are no longer, who are you?
Yes. And I think that we both can say that we know that Shelly dealt with ego. Like, big ego.
Big ego.
Yeah, girl. Shelly dealt with big ego. Like, energy was there. But, humility is real. And I appreciate the humbling. And it didn't feel good at all. Like, it didn't feel good.
What was the part about it that didn't feel good? What was that? Like, to come down, like, okay, but I am this God. What you mean?
like
what?
I think really it was the surrender.
Ooh.
Because I had a control complex. Like, I know that I know this. So this is the way that it's supposed to be. But what happened when it don't? Like, so
it goes to piggybacking on what you said. You can't control the outside. It's right here.
It's all right there. And at the end of the day, it went back to, okay, so if you're going to go back to the basics of what you believe as far as your Christianity goes, then God is sovereign, not Michelle. So
God was reading you, and he do that. He do that. Right. Like, he get close to you, you be like, you talking to me? And he is.
Right. And like, all of that just felt so messy. Like being on a potter's wheel. It felt so, it's the molding, depressing. Yes. And I was just like, okay. But I knew that I needed it. I was aware enough to know this is what you need in the moment, in the right now. And so I surrendered to it, and enters peace. Okay. When I surrendered, enters the peace. And it was just kind of like,
the anxiety kind of eased away.
Yep. The anxiety went away. The ego went to a bare minimum. I'm still like, but
you're right. I'm still a work in progress, guys.
Right. Like,
don't wait a minute.
Right. Like, don't strip away all the sass, because we,
that's making to me.
Yeah.
No, that's real.
And it's still a huge part of my personality, but I definitely had to realize that peace, the only way the peace is going to come in is if you surrender. Because if you really think that you can control this, you're going to be in a constant anxiety state, because the truth of the matter is you don't control anything else.
Yeah, I love that. And I have been saying for maybe a good, has it been a year? No, I say a good 6 to 8 months.
Mhm.
I have practiced a lot of humility before, but now like my peace level, huh, baby. I tell people I'm just floating through life.
Yeah.
I'm floating.
Yeah.
Like I have truly, and when I say floating, I also tap into I think about my feminine energy because I was it's a little rough around the edges, real niggerish for the people that don't know. So I say I'm like very refined in that. But I am floating in life because I understand, just as you, I can't control anything but myself.
Yeah.
So anything outside of myself, I know that everything will not go my way, and it's okay
Right.
because what is for me will always be.
Yeah.
So when there's chaos around, I still got peace on the inside.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered. I can't be shook like that
Yeah.
because I know at the end of the day, everything serves a purpose.
Right.
You understand situation serves a purpose.
Right.
You can just be, and you can have that peace.
Yep. And that's going back to the surrender. Like that's what it was. And also with my faith, like faith is like it's like soil. And the type of soil that you bury something in is going to depict the growth. How good growth, you know what I'm saying? And for me, Christianity is so super rich. Like it's deep. And it was one of those things that to know that that's always been my basic point. That's always been my start.
Yeah.
Now to feel like it's filling me up. It's
Yeah.
an overflow.
How it's a hoop overflow?
An overflow, yeah.
Okay, now I thought you said it was some kind of overflow, like something like I don't know.
The blog, my blog is like an overflow.
Oh, okay. I knew because I read lips, but I couldn't tell what that word was you said. Okay, because I be in tune with what people are saying.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Where and I know you said like you don't know where it's going to go, but you have something in mind because I'll say this. When people blog, and I believe it's for any and everybody in the world, we all have a book inside of us.
Yeah, definitely. What, like, I don't know if I ever said that, but I know that there's a book. I know that. And
yeah, I think I have heard. Yes, you have. You have quite a few. Yeah, I recall a conversation about that for sure.
Yeah, and I just want to do it right. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to, but I ain't doing nothing for clout. I don't need no validation. Like I'm just trying to be real and put out what's inside of me to the world.
You don't have to try when you already are. Just wordplay. Just you are.
Yeah, and I think that's tasks like that are given to people like that. When you don't need the validation because you really feel like that is perfect.
Yeah. And you get elevated to a whole nother level when you have that type of humility to understand I don't have no ego. Whether you like it or if you don't like it, I'm still gonna show up authentically with myself. And that's where the honor and the reward comes from the Most High with that type of attitude. I love that. It's no validation needed. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. I think also just being, like I said, being bit by the entrepreneur bug. Like I've been doing what I do as far as my career for almost 10 years now. And while I'm phenomenal at it, it's just still like
you are, baby. Yeah. Do you still do it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, honey, if they need a good cleaner, baby, I ain't never had my mouth clean the way you done clean my mouth. So, real. And I ain't saying that because you my peoples, but baby, like no other.
I do my thing, but I know that isn't my call. Like what I could, if I had the time that I have to do that, if I had that time to do what's inside of me, I'm going to transform the world. Like with whatever's on the inside of me, it's awakened, it's alive, it's breathing. I have to birth it in this moment. So I'm just trying to curate it to really what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. How does your faith show up at work?
Whew.
Was that a loaded question?
Girl. Because it's people. Because I deal with people. It's people. And, you know, people are complex. And so it's a lot of me being reminded too that if you're a Christian woman and then there's a way that you interact with people. Like it can't be a mood, emotions, it can't be stuff. And so it's a lot of too, people are like the dentist just give people anxiety. It just does, you know? So a lot of times it's just in conversation with people, but sometimes I can tell when it's purposed conversation, when people come in and they're someone I've never met before, never seen before, and you come into me and we're speaking about things and it gets to a level where I can speak to you about faith and I can tell the conversation. Like it's something you needed. We came in here today and now it has bloomed out of the conversation. So, you know, I try not to, because of just the way this society is in the world, is I try not to impose my beliefs on, you know, anyone, but when you know, and when the opportunity presents itself, you show up how you're supposed to show up.
And people, when I always say, when you're open, you're able to receive so much fullness thereof in conversations. Because I don't think people truly get. I love that, you know, being from the South, we have this Southern charm where you speak to everybody. And, you know, I know when people come down here from up north, it's like you don't know who you're speaking to. And I think it's something in the Bible, like you never know who you will encounter, because you could be encountering an angel. And it's not, you know, like it's such a form, you know, type thing. But that conversation is so fulfilling. And you're like, wow, I needed that. I was going through that. This person don't know me from a can of paint. But everything that they said, it was impactful to my life to actually help and propel me to another level of character, another level of faith, another level of whatever, you know, because we should always, again, be becoming and leveling up in every aspect of life, you know. So I love that.
Yeah. And I think that it's all about expression play a big part in how you do what you do. Like
expression.
Yeah, expression, like expressing in a particular way. When it's something as deep as like a faith belief, like the way that you express it shows the intent of your heart. It shows that type of stuff. And that's, so I say that to say that's how it show up for me, workplace. Because my workplace has nothing to do with my passion, but it shows up in that manner.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, because who you are is, I don't know. I just think of everything that you are in and outside of work. That's you regardless. That's the life of God regardless. Go ahead.
I feel like it's definitely tied. Like it's because it's your personhood, so it's tied. It's your identity, so it's tied to that. And I think that's a part of the journey. Like I'm learning that as I'm going, and it keeps elevating me. But it's humbling in a sense to where it's kind of like, do you know who you really are? Like, do you know who you really are? You know what I'm saying? And I'm just trying to be humble. Like,
okay, the reason why I'm gonna say something about this try again, because I listen to a lot of personal development, and when you're saying trying is as if you're not in that movement. You're literally in that movement, so it's no need for you to try to do anything. You are doing it. Because it's a way of you affirming yourself.
Yeah.
Just my little, like, because I be wanting people to always just vibrate at their highest capacity, and how we speak is a true indicator of what is coming to pass, because it's a belief of what we say, you know. So that's
I definitely 100% with the affirmation. I'm definitely yeah.
Oh, pretty good, good, good. I'm like, if she don't stop saying it's true, girl, you doing it. You are doing
Girl.
it. You are doing it. It may not seem like you don't know what it's gonna look like, but you're literally doing it. You showing authentically. You showing up, just stepping out in faith and knowing that, hey, God, you got me.
Like ain't nowhere else to go but up. I mean, and I'm sitting in that. Like I think because this is a new season, super like
fresh.
Yes, almost bewildering. Yeah. And so, but it's a calling. Like I feel it. I wake up in the morning feeling it. I go to sleep at night feeling it. Like my mind don't come off of it. So it was just kind of, it's really like a embrace.
Is it exciting for you? Like,
I can't, like, the word won't even come to my mind of what it truly feels like. Like I can't really say, you know what I'm saying? I'm still, like you said, I'm still in the motion, in the movement of really trying to figure out what this really is. Cause I ain't never had no child. I ain't never been pregnant, but it's something inside of me that I have to birth.
Yep.
And
Hi, little maid. She said, "Good evening, ladies." Hey, yes, affirmations.
Oh, hey, Crystal.
Hey, Crystal. Yes, affirmations are everything. I'm a firm baby. I have affirmations everywhere because if I don't do nothing else, I will affirm myself. The job that I have been at, like when you spoke about your job, everybody knew if I had a cubicle or any little desk, don't have affirmations. Because baby, if I don't have that, I don't like to be consumed with everybody else's negativity. For what? For what?
Yeah.
I must vibrate at a high capacity mentally, and by me doing that, speaking life, speaking positive things, affirming myself and believing that, like for an example, because I was in transition last year. That's why I was like, well, how did you hear God? What was that like? Because I've been speaking a little bit about it in some of the episodes, but I heard God say to me very loud and clearly, resign from my job. Now I was just like, wait a minute, because they say you need to have so much savings, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, oh God, I ain't got that. What you mean? What you mean? But when it's on your heart, I did it.
Okay.
But when I was doing it, I was affirming myself, and I was very intentional about, okay, guys, you told me to do this for a reason. So you told me to do it. I need you to guide me. Okay. And so with the guidance, there were things that I put on my board. Okay. And so on that board, I'll say a lot of things have already manifested. So it was me affirming and believing, like, okay, no, I want this type of job. I want to do this. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to, like, and he's like, okay, you're going to do it. Yeah. So for me, I am affirm yourself. If you don't do nothing else, affirm you.
Yeah. And I think, like, me just being me, sometimes I feel like you really don't have a problem with it. Like that is not a problem that I have, but it is when you're going into like new territory, the humility comes in to where it's like, this ain't what you know? So be open, be that channel to allow things to come in, don't always push them out.
I love it. And I think we're going to end on that. This is not what you know. But when it's not what you know, you got to be open to grow in those. This ain't what you know. Yeah. Let me write that down before I forget it. For real. Now, that was good. Because, it's this ain't what you know. It's not. It's not what you know, but it's to help you grow in new waters and new territories. Because you got to feel like water. I love that. So before we leave us with a dose of Michelle, and someone, if they never heard from you, you want them to remember you with this. What is that dose that you want to share?
If like go through life with a certain confidence that you're going to embody the truth.
Ooh.
In life. Ooh. And what's going to come out on the other side of that is it's got to be transformational. It's going to change your life.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. To embody the confidence. I love that. That's everything. I love that. Ooh, I love it. Ooh, I love it so much. And I'm saying that because I was just in my office yesterday going through some old notebooks, and everything was all about confidence. Everything in life is all about confidence, a belief in oneself.
Yes.
So, yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and speaking and just having this conversation just about you coming to this place in your life and just really being a light for other people on their own journey and taking tips from you to be able to hopefully become more confident in themselves and believing in the Most High in ways that will blow their mind. It's scary, but it's worth it.
Yes. And thank you for having me, Dawn.
You're welcome. Love you.
Love
Peace. All righty.